In this tutorial, we're going to be covering off a couple of topics that may be quite familiar with you and you're using on a regular basis. But as always, we find it very important to, say, watch all the points we cover off in this video, because even though it might seem straightforward and simple because it's something you do all the time, it's particularly beneficial just to make sure that you're possibly doing it the right way, or not even the right way, maybe the more efficient way as well. Amount of times that people look at these varying ways to do something and realise they never knew that they could achieve the outcome they are wanting by doing it a lot simpler way than they have been doing it previously. But anyway, the point of the video is to go over sorting and filtering data. So it's a topic we haven't done a specific video on, even though we've probably covered it in our videos in an indirect way. We've probably filtered data whilst doing tutorials. So what we've done for this example is you can see we have 4 columns of data, so quite straightforward and basic, and we're just going to cover off a couple of points around the table of information we have, and as we go through the video we'll also then cover off a couple of other additional points as in addition to the sorting and filtering aspects we're going to look at. So the data we have is just some random generated data we've done, what gives, going from column A through to column D, the city, a date, a name of an individual, and a time. So for the purpose of the example, we'll say that this was a running race, and what's obviously happening on multiple occurrences, because you can see there's many different dates within the month of June, it so happens to be, and they're recorded in each different city, and obviously a different name for each person who's run that race. So what we're going to do is just use this as an example to show how to sort the data and how to filter the data. For those who don't know, a basic data table is going to be in this format where you have your first row, what contains your headers, and then subsequently below that you've then got your rows of information. So the headers would contain the various fields or pieces of information, i.e. so a location, a day, a name, and a time, and then below that you can see we've got each item that's recorded beneath those categories. So obviously from row 2 downwards you wouldn't see this column headers, you just see the information that's captured. So having gathered all this information, it's really useful to know what to do and how to manage that information, because it's in this format it's just a lot of data and it doesn't give us any true purpose or tell us any key information. So the first thing that we want to do is often sort the data. So one particular reason for doing this is in our example you can see we've got times. So we might be interested to know who was the fastest. Regardless of the date that occurred on, who has the fastest time here. So in order to do this, all we need to do is either right click our data, and you can see just below halfway down we have an option for sort, and we can then from here we can do either a sort from smallest to largest or do a sort from largest to smallest. Alternative to doing that is rather than doing a right click, you can go into the ribbon at the top here, into your data tab, and you'll see that you've got the options of A to Z and Z to A here. So A to Z being the smallest to largest, and the Z to A being the largest to smallest. So we're just going to use these options here. And because we're looking for who was the fastest time, obviously we want to know what the smallest value was. So all we need to do is go A to Z. And you can see, you might have only just noticed it there, the data has now slightly changed and has been sorted to give us the fastest time. So we can see in row 2 we now have Tim. So on the 3rd of June this year in Birmingham, he scored a time of 1 hour, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And you can then see subsequently thereafter all the other times that then came in the multiple places after first place. So that's how we can quickly sort that based on one piece of criteria. So I'm just going to undo that, and to undo, if you didn't know, again you've got this option at the bottom here, or at the bottom, sorry, at the top of your screen, we've got the arrow going to the left, what's undo, and we've got the arrow to the right, which if we didn't want to, having undone what I've just now done, if I decided actually I want it to come back, we can redo, which then puts it back to where we were. But nonetheless, we're going to undo that so we can have back to our same starting point. So this time we want to sort with 2 pieces of criteria. So I want to have this in day order. So column B will be in order from the smallest date to largest. So we'll go from the first to the whatever date was within that month, being the latest. And then to organise by the faster times recorded on each day. So counter to what you might believe, you might think, we start with the date and then do the time. Actually, we're going to do this in reverse order. So we need to first filter our time, as we just did, and then we can filter column B. So in order to do that, and just to show you a different method, all we need to do is if we right click in column D, go down to sort, and this time we want to go sort smallest to largest. So you can see it's now back to where we were. And now we can go to column B, do another right click, and then sort. And this time we're going to go to oldest to newest. So obviously now we're working with dates. It's not a matter of smallest and largest, it's the matter of oldest and newest. So the oldest date being the oldest in time, going backwards, and the newest obviously being the most recent. So let's go oldest to newest. And you can see that that's now updated again. So if we just highlight this section here, we can see we've got 6 rows of data. So this is all on the 1st of June, and we can see that all of those times within the 1st of June have been organised from the smallest to the largest. So we've got the 1 minute or 1 hour, 2 minutes and 49 seconds through to the slowest time of 1 hour and 5 minutes and 23 seconds. And then as we go on to the 2nd of June, there's only actually 2 records there, but we can see they're in order. And then likewise for 3, because there's a few more in there, again we can see they're now in order as well. So a really quick way of organising that data, and as you can see we're now starting to transform this data that we started with, what didn't really give us much information, and we're now able from a few or 2 quick sorts able to now get this into some meaningful information by able to identify what the fastest time was, and to also get this into a bit of more of order so we can see how many races were occurring or how many positions were recorded on each day. So there's another method where we can do this, and a bit of a simpler one and sometimes easier to remember. So if again we just go to undo, and once again, just so we get back to our starting point, the other option we have is rather than doing the right clicks or using the data A to Z, what we can do is we can go to this option you see here. So if you haven't already, click your data tab and then go into sort. You'll get this pop-up. So what we have here is the ability to sort our data based on the information we have here. So what we first need to do is select a column we wish to sort by. So if we were going to do the same example we just done, we don't need to do the reverse order now. We can do it in the sort of progressive order. So the first thing we want to do is order by date. That's the primary thing we want to do. And we want to go from oldest to newest. And then if we want to add a second piece of criteria, this is where we can now select time. And again, it's now going to be smallest to largest. So we've got those correct. If we wanted to add a third piece of criteria or a fourth, all we need to do is keep going that add level button to add more levels to add criteria. Or if we decide we no longer need them, just select the one you want to remove and you can go delete level and so on and so forth. And then obviously we can click OK, and then we receive the same result we just achieved by doing the right clicks into those boxes. So the other option we have is we also have the ability to sort by colour. So in order to do this, all we need to do is to, again, in this example, I'm going to show you how to do it using the tool we just now seen. So we've got the sort option here, but you can achieve this by using the right click as well. So if we go into sort, you'll get our dialog box pop up, and we're just going to remove these 2 levels that we had previously used here. So I'm just going to add a new level, and this time I'll go sort by column A, what's actually city. And this time, rather than having cell values, so this second drop down we've got here, we're going to go to cell color. And you can also do if you had conditional formatting or go on font color, but we're going to select cell color here. So all we need to do is go into this drop down here, and I've already predetermined or pre-added some color highlights to our data. So obviously you need to make sure you've done that in the first place. All we then need to do is select our desired color, and then for this, we're going to select where you want it to go. So you could either have it go to the bottom or go to the top. But for our example, have it go to the top. So having selected the colour and on top and click OK, you can see that all of the ones that have been highlighted yellow in column A have been now moved up to the top. So we've got them in rows 2 to 5. And we can also do an addition to that. So we can add on to that if we've got more colours. So we just need to do add another level. And again, you can add this as many times as applicable. We then also can go back onto the city, change this to colour, and then the next one we want is we've got a blue colour on there as well, so we can go blue as well and change that to on top. So at first, again, it might be confusing to see both as having on top. It doesn't mean they're going to overwrite each other. What will happen is they'll go in this order of yellow then blue. So obviously the first sort is yellow being on top, and then the next thing will happen is blue will go on the next position there after the yellow. Once you do that, if you just go OK, and you can see the data has been resorted again, so now we've got the blue up there as well, so it goes yellow and then in blue. So the next part of the tool is looking at how to filter data. So we've just gone back again, just undone the changes we've made with color, just so again we get back to that starting point, which gives us a fresh palette for really sorting this data. So what we need to do if we want to filter our information is we could do some filters available. So the best way to do this is having selected in row number 1 of your data. If you go to your data tab, and then you'll see this big icon in the center called filter. So if you just select that, and then that will update or add that drop down to all of your columns. When you're selecting data, it will recognize that it'll basically look for all your column headers, so you can see it goes to column D, and it will then apply the filter to those. If it doesn't, for whatever reason, chances are it's because you've got a blank column header somewhere in your data, but if you need to, what you can do is just select the columns as one big range, as I'm doing now, and then set your filter button, and then you'll get those drop downs via that means. So once you've got that, we're in a great position to now continue on. So the first one we want to do is looking at how can we filter with one criteria. So all we need to do is just go to any one of our drop downs. We'll go for name because we haven't looked at that yet. And when you select that drop down, you'll see a unique list of all those values that are within that field. So we've gone into column C, which name. So we've got a unique list of all the names that appear in this column. So if we want to filter on one of those particular names, all we need to do is deselect the select all, and then select whoever we would like to choose. So we can go to Mark, select OK, and obviously after a bit of time, it then finds all the values where the name Mark is present. So we can see that these, we've got a total of 9 records for Mark. And a good quick tip as well is once you've filtered your data, if you look down the bottom left hand corner of your Excel screen, you shall see that it will say 9 of 98 records found. So what this is basically telling us is there's currently 9 records available or present or visible, should I say, based on this filter, out of a total of 98 records that we have. So that's a really easy or good tip for a quick reference when you're filtering data, especially if you're in a presentation or you're asked a question. Obviously it just saves you highlighting or counting manually all the records you see. So that's how we can filter on Mark. If we want to get rid of that, go back to where we were, we can either do our clear option here, what will clear the filter, and then obviously give us all our names, or if I just go back to filtered on Mark, the other option we have is we can click our drop down and then just do select all button, and that will select all of our names here. In addition to that, we don't have to just select one, we can just again either do our own select and just select all the names that we want to see, so Laura, and Mark, and there you can see them all there. Or alternatively, if you've got everything selected as it is at the moment, if there was only one name, let's say Tim, that you didn't want in your data, you just wanted to exclude Tim, then all you need to do is just deselect that one person, click OK, and that'll then update for you, filtering out that one individual. Let's just take our filter off for clear again. Again with filter, we're also able to filter on colour. So back onto column A, and you can see rather than again, it's worth mentioning that obviously this option to filter by colour is only going to appear where obviously there's colour present. But what we're able to do is go into our filter by colour, and we can either select the yellow, the blue, or we can select no fill. So those no fill ones will just select all the cells that haven't got a colour. Alternatively, if you select one of the colours like yellow, it's then going to only highlight or only filter to those 4 records that are highlighted yellow. Alternatively, we could go into our drop down, back into filter by colour, and select blue, and it will then change and it will now filter by blue. So the last couple of parts that we're going to look on in terms of filtering, so we can also do filters by text, numbers and dates. So we'll start from left to right, and I think that's about in that order. So what we can do in column A, because it's all text values within column A, we can do text filters. So if we go to text filters, we can do, okay, begins with, well, starting from the top actually, we can say equals, does not equal, begins with, contains, so on and so forth. So this is all criteria you can apply when filtering. So to give one of those examples, let's say begins with, let's say we want to have all records that begin with the letter E. It doesn't have to be a single letter, you could do more than just that. But if you do begins with E, then we go OK. Then what will happen, I think the only one we have here is Edinburgh, but yeah, it will then show you everything that begins with the letter E. Alternatively, going back on that filter, in our text filters option, we can do, it doesn't matter when you go on, but if you just go begins with again, we can say, okay, in city, it begins with the letter E, or it begins with, and you can see there's a lot of other options you have available there. Let's say begins with L, and then do OK. And you can see this time it's now going to pull up or filter to only cities that begin with either the letter E or the letter L. So for us, it's going to be the cities of Edinburgh and London. And there's various other options that you can play around with that, as you'll see with date and time. So we'll let you play around with those rather than obviously delving into each and every one as it is now. Other option we have, again, or not the other option, sorry, but then when we move on to column B for date, we have the same options available to us, but this time we have different, obviously, being with date filters. And it's also worth noting when you go into the filter for date that rather than just our standard list, we have a text, you have a stored or hierarchy style movement with all the dates. So if we had let me just get rid of all these filters. So you can see it condenses all of your dates into years, months, and then the date. So if you had lots of dates with various years on here, then all you need to do is you could filter down to the year and exclude one of those years. You can do the same with your month, so exclude whole months or include any months. And then you same with your days. So if you want to exclude any days, you just deselect or select only those that you're interested in. So that's just worth noting on that one. So in terms of the date filters we have here, you can see we've got lots of options available. So we've got like even things from tomorrow, today, yesterday, next week, next month, next quarter, next year. And the other ones we've got as well is we've got the equals, before, after, and between. So again, with those, we can go, let's say after, for example. So date is after, and we'll put in there the 1st of June 2019. We'll actually go a bit of a different day actually, and just put it in the right order, June, and let's say June 10th. So if I go OK, you can see that all the dates are now changed, so there's no longer going to be values that are not prior to, it's only going to show dates after the 10th of June. And if I just go into the filter, that helps to show it visually. It's got rid of all the filters in there. But if I scroll through the data, you can see that all of our dates are now after the 10th of June. So that's a particularly useful one when working with dates, especially if you've got a lot more than we have in here. And then the last one we want to look at here is your numbers. So looking at the time we've got over here. So we can go into number filters in column D. And this works exactly the same, where we can have numbers that are greater than a provided value, between, less than, or any variation that you have. And like we said a minute ago, we'll let you jump through all those different variations and have a play around with them, because like I said, there is so many variations you can play around with. It's kind of too many to try and fit into one video really. The last one we have as well, just to go into column C, just to do one more example on there, but it's applicable to any text based columns. So we also are able to do by a partial text search or filter. So we go into our drop down, we touched all these check marks we have, but what we have is this search option here. So what we can do is, if we know there's going to be a particular string of text, or we want to find like the beginning of words or names, what we can do is start typing in here. So if we typed in the letter J and J-O, or even just J in our example, it's going to find everything that begins with just the name of J. Alternatively, if we picked out M, it's going to filter to everything that has an M within the name. So it doesn't matter if it's at the beginning or the end, it's just going to look for that letter to be present anywhere in the name. If obviously I did letter A, then obviously there's only one match where it's in the format of M followed by A. But if we went into just the M, and we were interested in both of these names here for whatever reason, but just based on the criteria, we want to find all names that contain the letter M. Having done our search, and it will select those names for us, all we need to do is select OK, and then those selections will be made for the data for us. So we hope you enjoyed that video. We tried to step through and cover off as much as possible in this video, just to give you the complete detailed information that you would need had you never filtered data or sorted data to suddenly be up and running and get going. It's particularly useful because, as we say, if you've got a large data set, before you even try to do anything fancy with it like formulas or so forth, you probably want to, or it's advisable just to have a filter around to start seeing what the data is telling you. So if you enjoyed that video, please do give the video a thumbs up and hit that like button. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification button so you're notified every time we post a new video. We've got various links in the description to this video, so we've got links to our socials, Instagram and Facebook, and we've also got a link to our website if you want to check that out. Particularly useful if you have any questions questions, you can get in contact with us there, or alternatively drop us a comment below this video and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you're interested in a more concise and structured learning path, again, one more link in the video to the description will take you through to a course that we have available on Udemy. Udemy is an online provider of various different courses on all sorts of subjects, but our course is located on the site and is accessed by that link. So go check that out, and like I say, that gives a really good structured learning path, taking you from beginner to an advanced user at Excel. Thank you very much, and we shall see you in the next video.